Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Candidates Tournament, an 8-player double round robin. There are 14 rounds, and this is the most important tournament of the year because the winner of the Candidates will go on to face the world champion in about 6 months' time. Through 5 rounds of the Candidates, Javakhir Sindarov from Uzbekistan is playing the chess of his life. He's up to number 5 in the world. He has 4.5 out of 5 points. I mean, at some point, you got to think he's going to stop winning because that's just statistically improbable. Now, about 12 years ago, in St. Louis, Fabiano Caruana won the first 7 rounds of a tournament, including against Magnus Carlsen and other monsters. What Sindarov is doing in this Candidates is unprecedented. It's the greatest start to a Candidates tournament in the history of the game. On the women's side, it's an 8-player race through 5 rounds. In this video, I will take you through the most important games of round 6. I don't know why I said that. I'm going to take you through all the games of round 6. Shout out to the over 500,000 of you, 600K, 700K that are tuning in to every single one of these recaps. It's amazing. Let me know in the comments where in the world you're watching from, what your story with chess is, because it's very special. It's very cool to see the whole chess community come together. By the way, the only reason I have not included the player standings anywhere on the screen, like how many points they have, is it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Javakhir Sindarov and Fabiano Caruana right now are running away with it, and everybody else is playing catch-up. When it matters again, I will put it. No, I will put it up after this video. So, it is Wei Yi versus Javakhir Sindarov. When a player who is struggling in the tournament plays the person who is literally eviscerating people in the tournament, it's always an interesting thing what's going to happen. Can the player who is struggling bounce back and build a little momentum? And Wei Yi plays the Vienna. Wei Yi. This is the line that I recommend. This is my E4 course. Some of you might know it as E4 New York Style. That's the original name. Right now, it's on Chessly. It's on my educational platform. Here, Black can either play bishop to B4 or knight to A5, going after this bishop. I really like these lines. I think they're very, very practical. And, you know, White gets a lot of attacking chances with the F-pawn. Javakhir plays knight A5, normal move from him. And now, you know, there's knight E2, queen F3. A lot of moves have been played. Wei Yi plays A3. Basically, A3 is like, you got to take my bishop, because if you don't, I'm going to go here. And White gets this position from the opening. So Black cannot play bishop to b4. White will then build up on the light squares, develop all his pieces aggressively, and have a very nice position. Honestly, it's a little difficult for Black to prove the superiority of the bishop pair. Javakhir develops his bishop to c5, knight f3, queen d3, the bishop goes here, and Wei Yi develops the bishop to g5. Now, from the opening, for the first time in like the entire tournament, Javakhir looks a tiny bit uncomfortable. He's down 20 minutes. Wei Yi is a phenom. 10 years ago, he struck fear into the very souls of his opponents at tournaments when they saw him in the pre-registration list. So now you're thinking he's going to bring it back. He's going to, you know, the worst thing that can happen in the Candidates is you lose a few games, you know, and, you know, maybe he's going to kind of dust it off. He goes knight d5, all part of his preparation. He damages the pawn structure of Javakhir. I have to tell you, this looks very unpleasant for Black. Like, I highly doubt you're ever going to checkmate anybody over here. Plays rook g8 and Wei Yi just castles right into it. Now, at this point, the computer is giving king e7 as one of the moves. That's a gangster move. That's an awesome move. But he plays a4. A4 is looking to control the movement of the queenside pawns, because then you would passant. And then, right, you would take this pawn. And that must have come as a real shock when Wei Yi played b4 immediately. The problem is he spent 35 minutes on that move. One thing Javakhir has not done in this tournament is lose, and also spend 35 minutes on a single move. I don't think he has. He's playing confidently. He plays fast. He plays confident. He trusts his instincts. B4, takes. You could take the pawn on A3. You could. And then after takes, basically Wei Yi is arguing your king's in the middle, so it's not castled, which means if I ever manage to infiltrate, it's going to be a real problem for you. And Javakhir plays bishop G4. Now, it's 0.4. I know we're kind of grasping at straws here, but this is the worst position Javakhir has had in like a week. In the first round, he had a slightly worse position with White. It's pretty annoying. But like, as Black, when you have a bad position, considering you go second in the game, you know, and your king's in the middle right now, like, maybe there's some good chances here. Now, at this point, this move is really peculiar because he wants to take the knight, and then he wants to put his bishop on d4. The computer gives king h1, which is a weird move, but I think generally the idea of king h1 is that you kind of bait the opponent into taking the knight, and then you allow the bishop to come here, but in the future, you can move your f-pawn. I think that's kind of the idea of playing king h1 to get off of this line. The other idea is to put the knight on e1, and then on c2, where this bishop can't make it any closer, and that would be really nice, because if the knight could move there, and not be taken, you know, you would have a lot of prospects. I really like this idea. This is Wei Yi's moment, but he doesn't capitalize. He doesn't capitalize on the moment. He doesn't play knight e1. He doesn't play king h1. And after takes and bishop d4, you know, yes, Wei Yi can win a pawn here. That's probably what he was banking on. But his rook is hanging, and he spends, again, a lot of time. 46 minutes. Wei Yi spent a combined 80 minutes on 2 moves. You just can't do that. I don't know. I get it. I get it. I'm here. I'm talking about the games. But as a fan, I'm like, aren't the players round to round realizing Java here is trapping all of them? All of them. When all of them slow down, he gets faster. He puts a lot of clock pressure on players. And to spend 80 minutes here, like, you know, White has a lot of choices, rook a2, rook d1. But the commentators, I heard Jan Gustafsson, German Grandmaster commentator, very, very funny and charismatic individual. He wouldn't be comfortable with so many compliments. But Jan Gustafsson said something like, when you are struggling in a tournament of this magnitude and you have a lot of choices, you freeze. You go to a restaurant, they got like 40 things on the menu, you don't know what to do. And this is one of those moments. He goes here, but now he has 26 minutes to make 22 moves. It's a horrible situation. And Sindarov all of a sudden is activating the rook here, The bishop is strong. And before you know it, you know, black is taking over the game. He kicks out the bishop. And then here, instead of playing c5, which is what the engine preferred, he walks his king to safety first. Fine, queen h5. He moves the king over to g8, very comfortable. And then he gets c5. And the grasp of the position has been completely lost by white. This bishop is a monster. This is a pawn majority. And one of these pawns will promote. That's how Sindarov's going to win this game. Like, white has nothing. He's very scrambled here. We have pawn f4, just sacrificing a pawn, looking for a little bit of counterplay. You know, Wei Yi tries to trade off the pieces. He actually gets close to equalizing here, but he has 6 minutes. 6 minutes to make 11 moves. And here, he has to take this pawn. That's the practical move. And then after that, he has to play rook f3. Now, at the World Cup, where Wei Yi got, he had a monster run in the World Cup. He lost, I think it was in the final to Sindarov. It was the two of them in the World Cups, the matchup of the World Cup players. Wei Yi was clutch defensively. You take once, and then you play rook f3, and it's a little hard for black to break through. But every player has been self-destructing against him, and with 2 points, that's what's going to happen. He takes it like this. It's wrong. This trade is wrong because of the cool, calm, and collected queen e3. It's such an easy move. For black, he just plays queen e3, and now white has a real problem. He can't take because the pawn's going to promote, or that pawn's going to promote. So he has to go here. But Sindarov just pushes the pawn. He has a passed pawn. You can't stop it. You got to come back defensively. You got to go for his king, but his king's safe. Wait, he has a minute. And it doesn't matter. He's not going to lose on time, but he's going to lose the endgame. He just resigns. Sindarov sneaks through his pawns. White resigned because you can't stop 2 pawns with 1 rook. It's not possible. And if you go here, it's c2, and rook e1 is coming. I'm going to go to the first rank. Very instructive for the beginners watching. Black has enough time here to play rook e2, rook d2, and rook d1. That is why this is winning. You have enough time to go here and here. If you didn't have enough time, king f1, like rook d2 doesn't work because of this, doesn't matter. You're still lost because your king can't escape off the back rank at all, and it can't get closer to the pawn, and the rook can't move because of rook here. Positioning of the king and the rook, and passivity of the kings, and passivity and activity of the king and rook, super important in the endgame. And Wei Yi must have thought the position was tactical, but Sindarov spotted it. Moves like queen e3 come to you when you have 4.5 out of 5. Ladies and gentlemen, Javahir Sindarov, let me stop saying Javahir. Javahir Sindarov has 5.5 out of 6. His live rating is 2770. If you look at his rating chart over the last year plus, dude has gained like 100 rating points. It's unbelievable what he's doing to this field. 5.5 out of 6. Half of the players in the tournament are trailing him by 3 points. The tournament is literally almost over. It is only Fabi that can stop this man. And Fabi will get a chance to play him in about 5 days, 6 days. All right? If Fabi beats him, it still might not be enough because his point deficit from Sindarov might be too big. Now, Wei Yi, of course, you know, he messes up. He messes up because of the time management and the instinct, like the tournament struggles. He didn't capitalize, didn't spot the critical moments of the position well enough. Sindarov wins, which means we really only have to pay attention to one other man. And that man is right here, Fabiano Caruana. Can Fabiano Caruana continue to win? Because if he can't, we might as well stop watching the tournament. Really, Sindarov's going to win it in like 12 rounds. instead of 14. That hasn't happened. That hasn't happened in a minute. I think Nepomniachtchi clinched the candidates of Madrid 2022, the repeat candidates, you know, the one where he lost the World Championship match, and then he won the candidates again because he had all the experience, momentum, and everything like that. So now I'm going to show you Fabiano versus Andrei. This is another matchup of tournament leader, one of the two, and that's somebody who is struggling. We've already seen this. C4, E6. This was also the game Esipenko with white versus Hikaru with black. Kind of funny. In that game, black wins C5. We've also seen this in the game with Giri and Blubaum, where D4 was on the board, castles, and we get B3. So Fabi has, we finally get a chance to see what Fabi has prepared, and he has prepared what's called a neo-Catalan. Okay, it's a Catalan, but white never plays the move D4, which means white is basically begging black to play D4. That's Fabi's prep. And I think he has some really nice ideas there. A lot of times now you can play bishop, e-pawn, you can move your knight to e5 and play f4. I think Fabi's waiting to spring that on someone, but Esipenko just like doesn't play d4. He plays the position in a way where he doesn't give Fabi the one thing that he wants. Folks, make no mistake. When Fabiano Caruana plays like this and doesn't play a mainline Catalan, he's begging the opponent to play this move d4, and Esipenko just refuses. He just develops all his pieces, the queen goes to d7, and white has run out of options. He has to play d4. If he plays knight c3, then black plays d4, and it's a very different story. So he plays d4, Esipenko takes, knight takes, knight takes. Now the computer was screaming for rook takes here. Very interesting move, by the way. I think the idea of rook takes is that if black plays e5 or bishop c5, like a natural move, you actually just straight up put the rook on h4. That would have been really cool if he did that. I don't think Esipenko would have played bishop c5, though. But rook takes d4 is an idea where you do, in fact, try to transfer the rook to this side of the board. I honestly think, in retrospect, that might have been the better choice, because the position which happened in the game, bishop takes d4, and then this position, I mean, it's very pleasant for white, but the position is completely symmetrical. And so Fabiano here is going to have to solely rely on, like, past experiences, being over 2,800, and also Esipenko having a rough tournament. And so Fabi is going to try to go to work here, right? He gets the bishop endgame. He actually wins a pawn, but unfortunately for him, he wins a pawn, but this pawn controls everything. Hey, by the way, folks, this position is why they invented en passant, because otherwise white would play a4 here. White would play a4 and the pawn would run away, and black would have to passant. If black doesn't passant, black's going to just lose. The pawn's going to run away. The bishop's going to come back. So literally, what you are seeing on the board is the nexus, is why en passant was created. So you couldn't have one pawn controlling two pawns. Isn't that interesting? There was a period in time you could play the move a4 here and white would just win the game. That would change chess completely. But you can't, because black can play the move pawn takes a3 right now and actually be winning himself. Anyway, shockingly, Fabiano did not blunder that. And tried to liberate his position. He ended up having to sacrifice his pawn, but too many pawns got traded in this game, and this is just a draw. One pawn each, rook each. You might be able to lose this with either color, but not them. And I won't lose this either. This is a little bit too easy to draw. I will lose many other positions, though. Unfortunately, Fabiano Caruana does not win, which means that after 6 rounds, Javahir Sindarov, I keep saying Javahir Sindarov has 5.5 out of 6, and Fabiano only has 4. Which means that if Fabi beats Sindarov, it's not even going to be enough. Somebody else has to beat Sindarov. Or Sindarov has to make a bunch of draws, and Fabi has to win a bunch of games. The only reason I'm talking about this, not because I'm American, go Fabi, or whatever, like, that would be cool. I just mean, like, the tournament can't be over before the halfway point. There are 14 games in this tournament. We've only played 6. How can Sindarov win the tournament after 6 rounds? Did nobody else prepare for this damn tournament? Like, what is going on? Why is half the field 3 points behind him? I understand when a player, like, rocks everybody's world, but why does nobody else have any points? Candidates, what is going on? Come on! Goodness me. Can Hikaru beat Pragg? Can Hikaru beat Pragg? He shows up, plays into a Nimso Indian defense, one of the most aggressive openings in chess. E3, B6, sideline from Pragg, not playing D5, castles, etc., these types of lines. We have knight E2. Now Pragg plays something I've never seen in my life, ever. Like, normally you play B6 to put a bishop here, and white is playing like this so that he could play A3 and not have his pawn structure damaged. Black goes C5 and then puts his bishop here. I've never seen anybody play like this, like, ever. I mean, I'm sure I don't play the Nimso Indian. That's probably why. But Hikaru here also spent some time to navigate this position. The computer really likes rook B1. Rook B1, make a move that makes, except it does make sense. because you're trying to trap the bishop. So then the line goes rook b1, knight a6. I mean, you talk about idiotic chess. Again, like if you had a student who was like 800 or even 1200 or 1500 playing like this, you'd be like, what is wrong with you? But they can get away with it, right? Anyway, Hikaru goes bishop d2, and here's a very odd moment the commentators were talking about. After pawn takes d5, the move here that, you know, would require a lot of, would keep a lot of tension is c takes d5. And the point is that, you know, white would then proceed with knight f4, let's say bishop b7 hitting the center pawn, knight f4, d6. Like, this is an extremely healthy and rich position. This position is full of life. White plays bishop d3. Black can't take this pawn because there's a lot of tactics on h5 and h7. Black would play knight bd7. Hikaru could castle. Black would put his knight on e5. I think Hikaru probably saw this and was like, I don't know who's better here, and I don't have a lot of experience, and I kind of don't want to risk it. But this was probably the way to go, because what happened in the game was they traded knights, and then they traded these pieces, and then they traded some more pieces, and Hikaru launched an attack, and you're like, h4, Hikaru's going for it. He heard my speech just now, even though it was after his game. But, like, yeah, Pragg just, you know, solidifies the position, and even though queen h6 is coming, there is no danger. The second the queen comes in, like this, you attack the queen, and you kick the queen out, and then the knight goes back, and then the queen comes in, and you kick the queen out, and then the players repeated moves! Which, a couple things. It makes sense given the position. It does not make sense given the tournament situation, particularly for Pragg. I mean, you could argue or for Hikaru, but he's 3 points behind first place. He's basically relying on, like, somebody got to beat that guy until I play him again, right? But Pragg doesn't even... I'm not saying... I mean, the position's completely equal, but, like, boys and girls, or in this case, boys, like, if you keep making draws and Sindarov keeps winning, the tournament's going to be over before you know it. So, like, you know, here, like, Black could play rook e8 and continue the game. But, yeah, I mean, there's probably nothing going to happen. I think this is a position where an unstoppable force is meeting an immovable object. Like, nobody can make more progress without risking a lot, but they make a draw. So Sindarov is just plowing through. The one game of the round that was hilarious. This game, single-handedly, I'm mad at both these guys, all right? They delayed this recap by an hour plus, and it's not Blubaum's fault. It's actually Anish's fault. It's all Anish's fault. All right, I got beef with Anish Giri. All right? So, Blubaum plays the Queen's Gambit decline, obviously. By the way, Anish Giri, right? He just saw Fabiano Caruana beat Blubaum in a Petrov. He's got to get some points because Sindarov is beating everybody. So he plays into the Queen's Gambit decline, which is a very, you know, reliable line. And, well, Blubaum plays this line, bishop f5. And this line baits the move queen f3 and this capture on f6, and Black goes for this position. Let me tell you something right now. You have to absolutely hate your existence on this planet to play this line with Black. This line is the biggest abomination to chess. Like, look at what you've done to your position. Your pawns are terrible. Your h-pawn can't, like, white is just going to play h4, g3, and, like, get a very cohesive position. Now, I once played a match against the legendary Eric Rosen, good friend of mine. He kept playing this with Black, and he kept beating me. The difference is, I'm ass at chess. I am butt cheeks at chess, and Blubaum is 2,700. So Giri gets this position, which is better for white, but he then proceeds to spend like 5.5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, dare I say, trying to beat Blubaum in this position. Yo, they literally did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. This is the candidates in 2026. The young Uzbek is pulverizing people. We are desperately begging for Fabiano Caruana at this point to go on a run, or maybe Pragg. Blubaum plays 20 knight moves back and forth, bro. Look at Blubaum's... Yo, what are we doing? I couldn't make the recap because of this nonsense. Anyway, nothing happened. In case it's not clear, the game ended in a draw. Why did this game need to be played that long? I'm losing my mind. Not even losing my mind as a content creator. I'm losing my mind as a spectator. Anyway, listen, if you're Blubaum, you can't ask for much more. You defend the position with Black. But if you're Giri, you know, he needs to win more games. Like, everybody needs to win more games. Everybody has to start taking a little bit more risk, or like they're just going to give the tournament to Javik here. I mean, they can't afford more draws where nothing happens. So the standings after 4 rounds, I mean, we're gonna look. We always look at the end, but it's not looking good. Guys, it's really not looking good. Sindarov has to lose for this tournament to get close ever again. Now, the women's side, the games today were wild. Really, really wild games. We know Lagno every round is going to provide us with fireworks. Divya versus Bibisara, they're both like 20, 21, 19. I mean, they're young, full of energy. And then the Zhu Jiner versus Anna Muzychuk. I mean, Muzychuk replaced, Humpy Konaru. Now, all right, this one, Bishop's opening. Vienna, by the way, similar position to Wei Sindarov, but Bishop b4 was the move chosen by Vaishali. This is also in my course, by the way. Here I like knight e2, but okay, knight f3. Black took. And then white, 2 bishops. Okay, well, the bishop might, perish. Clearly ready to give the bishop away, okay, or bringing it back if you're not going to take it. Vaishali does the usual. Vaishali always looking for interesting attacking positions. She gets it. It's quite clear. Black is going to try to attack. White is going to try to argue that there is no attack. Vaishali is going to try to attack and stabilize her queen side. And Vaishali has a beautiful position. Like, she really gets a position that is fantastic. These 2 pieces are just on the board having a conversation, except the bishop can't see the knight, but the knight can see the bishop. Kind of a sad existence. It literally might be the worst bishop in the history of bishops. It literally is a pawn. It's literally a bishop, but it's literally a pawn. Sometimes I get comments from some of you. You might think I don't see them, but some of you are grammar police. You listen to me yap for a 30-minute recap. I don't do any edits. I just talk off the cuff about chess, finding another person on planet Earth. All right, there's like 3 or 4 of them. But with this level of fervor and energy and excitement and, insight, I'm also very humble, by the way, in case you can't tell. Anyway, I sometimes say things and you guys go, well, it's not literally a pawn, Gotham. Okay, so also people get mad when I talk about fewer or less. They're like, it's not less pawns, it's fewer pawns. Go outside. Get on. Finish the recap. Go for a walk, okay? I mean, goodness gracious me. Anyway, Vaishali's trying to attack. She's managing her time well. Lagno also does get into time trouble quite a bit. Vaishali here has a big moment. She can already just sack the bishop, apparently. She's done everything here. Open up the king. She's got the rooks coming in. Rook e5, rook f5, rook g5, knight g5, knight f3. But she goes here. So she doesn't spot the chance. She's going to get another chance in a little while, and then the position is going to completely spiral out of control. Black is going to break in. There's the bishop sacrifice. Vaishali is going to build up her advantage in an overwhelming fashion. She's completely winning. Queen d3 is the only move. Queen g6 is a threat. But Black is winning if she just takes the rook. So here's the point. If you go queen g4, king f1, queen g2 here, I defend the king, right? But if you take, I am faced with an extremely uncomfortable decision. Because if you make this trade with me, then rook f5, then knight g5, then knight h3, you're just going to win the game. If queen e3, now that whole attack that I just showed you works, or queen g4, queen h3, they both work. This is just game over. White just loses the position here. You got to sack your queen. That's the only way you survive. So rook e3 is apparently winning. But she only has a minute. She goes here. And now, not only is she no longer winning, she's actually losing after rook takes f3. So rook f3 on the board. Rook f3, knight g5, and now you have to take on f5, but she does this, but she's still better. Now rook to g3, she goes here, and we have queen h3, and here, there is no threat. There's nothing immediate. No, I guess h4. h4 is quite substantial. But apparently queen f3 and queen g2 save the day. But honestly, even h4... no, this is tough. You got to find queen f1. That's... Yeah, that's... it's a fork. And that's not even the right sequence, apparently. You have to play rook f1 and f4. There you go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you got to play knight d2 and queen f1. Queen f1's the defensive resource, or queen f3, queen g2. She misses it. She plays queen f1 immediately. Vaishali goes chop, chop, chop. And this is a completely winning position for Black. You're attacking the queen. You're up a piece, but all these pieces are basically completely meaningless. They are purely symbolic. Queen f4, rook g3. Vaishali Ramesh Babu, no checks against her king. Queen h4. And she resigns because after king g1, you sack the rook, you win the queen. Vaishali Ramesh Babu, her first win of the candidates. And it's come at a good time because the last candidate, she lost 4 games in a row at some point. Then she won 5 games in a row. But the tournament was over already. Remember, before this round, 1st and 8th were a point apart. right? So everybody with 3, everybody with 2, like now a 2 beat a 3. Lagno had 3, Vaishali had 2, so she beats her. That's completely fantastic for her. Now, Altobayeva versus Divya Deshmukh. Queen's Gambit declined. Semi-Slav. We've seen this already a few times. Now, we saw Blubaum play e3, Queen c2 against Pragg. You might not remember that. In this game, though, we get what's called the Cambridge Springs. Black is trying to play bishop b4, knight e4. Very good line. A lot of tricky stuff in here, like this bishop sometimes gets lost. Takes, knight takes d5. Black trades on c3, plays bishop a3, hits the rook moves. Black plays c5. Both players still in their preparation. Nobody's really thinking too much. Now they start thinking. Divya plays this very provocative line where she allows the bishop to attack her rook, but she's going to go trade it. Actually, though, early on, it was Bibisara who developed a better position in the middle game. She played h4. She was obviously looking to attack. She had some attack, h5, h6 type of ideas. And I think here she got h6, and this was her best position of the game. Like, she did everything right. She needs to now follow it up with a reroute of the knight, either to d2 and then e4, or e5 and then g4. She goes knight e5. Black plays knight g6. And now knight g4, queen e3, looking for dark square infiltrations. There's also the idea to play knight g4 and then d5, just sacrificing a pawn in the center of the board to move the queen forward and open up on this diagonal, amongst other ideas. But she plays queen e3 first. And now the problem is, if you play knight g4 in this position, I get my queen over in time. And even though you can take with check, there's no attack. So she needed to play either d5 or knight g4 first. And in the game, she does this. Mishandles the attack. She still continues to attack. She's still bringing more pieces forward. But Divya just like zips around with her queen e7, queen b4, queen e7. Now, Vaishali here basically offered a draw. Divya could have played queen b4, but she went here. She baits her opponent. She's playing for a win. She doesn't want to draw. Gentlemen, take some notes. f5. She baits Bibisara into an attack. Takes. She zips in with the rook. It's still equal, but it's tense. Rook f2 from white. We trade. The queen comes out to g5. It's still the threat of an endgame basically at any moment, right? Like, if you trade the queens, you have to evaluate, like, is the endgame equal? Is it not? She goes queen d3. That was the wrong move. She needed to play queen c3. She didn't like this move because it didn't look like there was any more progress. This move looks like progress because you're looking at rook f5. You're looking at queen d8. But after this, even though she gets this position and it looks like queen d8 mate is a threat, all black does is back up. That's the end of the attack. So she panicked a little bit in time trouble. She played a couple of these moves. She played this move with 1 second on the clock. She has 31 seconds. She gained 30 seconds. So a little bit of panic here. Instead of queen d3, queen c3 was the better move. But 1 second remaining on the clock is not going to get it done. And Divya now has a one-way ticket to a victory. She hits the rook. Rook g3 is a problem. Queen e5, queen f6. Bibisara got a blockade on black's king, but black's king just slid out of the way. The back rank was protected. The rook launched the counterattack. Epic win for Divya. So the players that were a little bit struggling beat some of the players that were doing well previously. Now, Zhu Jiner versus Caruana Muzychuk. Big matchup. Both players have 3 points. So either a peaceful draw, or maybe we're going to have somebody win. e4. Italian, symmetrical, d3, knight f6. And white plays bishop e3. That's already a sideline. I mean, this is not a popular move at all. Immediately going for this pawn structure. And she plays in a way I've never seen. She plays queen d2. Black plays a6, kind of waiting. White develops the queen side. And we have a bishopless position, which means that black is probably going to try to play the move d5. In fact, right now. White plays pawn takes. By the way, look at white's time. White is not thinking, so clearly still in something that she knows. Castles is normal. She plays this, and then she plays knight e4. So we're going to have a game with no bishops. Knights. What do you do here with black? Well, I'm looking at this position. I'm like, I don't have any forward momentum with my knights, so I want to get my f-pawn in the game. I want to kick this knight out of the middle. I want to stop white from going knight c5, so I would play queen e7. Also connects my rooks, another good thing to do in a game. Move the rooks into the middle and play f5, or do like Vaishali, f5, rook e8. So, queen e7. The knight comes back. We have g6. She's preparing f5. White plays e4 to disallow this idea. Black continues to wrap around the knight, maybe to c5, e6. Also, f5 is still kind of vaguely possible. All right, rook d8. Maybe she's not going to play f5. Maybe she'll play f6, be more solid. The knights come in looking very nice. Okay, she plays more solid with f6. So she's kind of like waving on the player with the white side, from the white side. And the player from the white side, Zhu Jiner, like she just goes for it. Now, Computer here recommends sacrificing a piece. That's not particularly human. White gets, you know, some attack building up. Apparently here you needed to commit to h5. Not very obvious why. Not very obvious. Like, okay, black plays g5 and then can establish knight f4. Like, I don't understand why this is so good. Then it likes this move and wants to rebounce the knight, I guess, to the f5 square. That makes sense. She plays knight h2 immediately. But that allows black enough time to play knight d4. And now this pawn is hanging, and you have to defend it. You don't have time to play h5, and now black plays f5. So here, white needed to play h5 because there was no knight d4, and then if black played something like g5, which I doubt she actually would have played, but then the white knight would have wrapped around and done that maneuver. But this allows black to go here, and f5, and Anna Muzychuk never looked back. Her position went from passive to aggressive. The white position is falling apart. That h-pawn, white push there. She didn't have to. Right? And here comes the incoming punishment. Pawn takes f4, rook f4, knight takes on c2. Whole white position is falling apart. Queenside, down the line, over here. And the very, very experienced player from Ukraine holding the position, getting in with her queen, eating literally all of the pawns and ending the game emphatically. You can't move the knight anywhere. The knight is literally trapped. If you go here, I take. If you go knight g4, I take. I can also play h5, but rook g4 just wins the piece. Very powerful victory from Anna Muzychuk, very classy win. And she is in first. And Zhu Jiner was in first. Now she's a point behind. And Katerina Lagno lost to Vaishali. So Anna Muzychuk is winning the tournament with 4, unlike 5.5 out of 6. Can one of you please beat Sindarov? Like, I'm not going to have enough recaps, guys. This is really the point of the tournament. Supplying me with the content. I mean, let's be serious. Anyway. Last game of the day, a little bit of a dramatic game between Tan Zhongyi. All these games are a little bit dramatic. We have a fried liver, but not really because black doesn't take on d5. Black plays a main line. We got to get one of these at some point. Super sharp line. Knight c3 is a very modern move nowadays. Black can go after this bishop or play like f5. I mean, this line is just so unbelievable. I think in the last candidates, didn't Hikaru play b3, bishop b2 and win a game? Yeah, now we have knight e4 and queen c2. The players have to memorize such a sickening amount of theory here, and then they land in a position that just makes no sense whatsoever and is really difficult for a human to play. But then Goryachkina lands a really brutal tactic. Right here. White played rook c1, and her idea was that after pawn takes f3, you would take this. So she played pawn takes f3, and queen takes d3, but she completely overlooked the move knight to d4. And she either overlooked it or underestimated it because this position is, this position's really, really dangerous. Maybe here she thought she had, no, I don't actually know. Maybe she thought she had queen f3? I'm not sure. Queen f3, because the bishop is hanging and the knight is hanging, but bishop I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what was missed. But knight d4 is really nice because after this trade, rook c8, rook c8 would be a check, and then you would win the knight. But knight e2 is just a nice in-between move, and this is the position. And black is better here, trying to win this endgame, but it's really difficult to win. White has a fortress, so white will just get this pawn on e2, and black is going to try to win the position. I think the computer can win this as black, but you notice, like, you can't break into white's position. You can't use this pawn. You have all the pawns on the same side. The engine really likes queen e6 here, with, I guess, the idea of, like, putting the pawn on h3. I think that's a key idea. You got to play h3, and then this block of that square allows queen b6, and then queen a6. And then, okay, apparently the way you win this is you play queen d6, and then you play g5, and you start bringing the king, and black plays this for a win. f5, f4, etc. That doesn't happen in the game because Goryachkina is a human, and instead we have a complete fortress. So white just has every pawn protected, everything is protected, and the game will be a draw. It will be a draw. Even though here, apparently you can still play it on, the players decided enough is enough. I mean, black can't move any pawn, so it's kind of challenging to do anything in the position. The standings for the women after 6 rounds. 4 is now the first place leader. And in the next round, she will play against Bibisara. Bibisara just lost. I actually think she lost 2 games in a row. She just lost 2 games in a row. If Bibisara beats Muzychuk, freaking tournament is wide open again. You got 4, 3.5, and everybody else. We got 5 people in this tournament with 3 points. It's an extremely close tournament. 1.5 points separate first and last. Yeah, this standings, though, is completely brutal. Half the field is 3 points or more behind Sindarov. I mean, I said Sindarov would be not shocking if he won the tournament. I mean, I didn't expect this. Hey, Humpy Konaru withdrew from the candidates because she was worried about violence in the region. And there is violence in the region. She was justified, just not in the way that she thought, okay? Nobody expected a crazy Uzbek to just demolish everybody. 5.5 out of 6. What the... And the only person he couldn't defeat is Blubaum, because nobody can beat Blubaum except Fabiano Caruana. Fabi's the only hope. So in the next round, Fabi plays black against Pragg. I mean, I have no idea at this point. Like, Pragg is still playing to win the tournament. He's 2.5 points out. They have to win. Somebody has to win. Like, this won't survive. You're 2.5 points behind with, like, you know, about half the tournament to go. So Pragg and Fabiano is a crazy matchup. And then Giri is playing with black against Sindarov. So, like, if Giri can beat Sindarov, he's still 1.5 points behind, folks. So the weirdest tournament I have ever covered. I mean, Nepo won the 2022 candidates with a breakaway from everybody else, but he did not have 5.5 out of 6. He did not have 5.5 out of 6. And generally, the stats say that you need a first-time candidates victory to become like a world champion and a world-ending player. Gukesh won the candidates the first time that he played. Magnus won the candidates the first time that he played. There were several players in history who won the candidates the first time that they played. When you come back a third and a fourth and a fifth time, it's not good. That doesn't bode well for the chances of becoming the world champion in the modern era. That's all I have for you today. See you all for the next round. Get out of here.